And today's top story is on the recognition of Palestine by Thailand. That's happened yesterday. So with more details here, Thailand said on Thursday that it has recognized a Palestinian state in a move hailed by the Palestinian leaders eager to boost their international standing amid a stalemate with Israel. Thailand has officially recognized the state of Palestine and officially informed all permanent and observer missions to the United Nations in New York of this development, a press officer for Thailand's mission said. In Ramallah, a Palestinian foreign ministry official told AFP that Thailand was recognizing the state along the lines that existed before the 1967 Six-Day War. Thailand's recognition of a Palestinian state is the first of the new year 2012 and is a new achievement for Palestinian diplomacy. Palestinian Foreign Ministry Riyad al-Maliki told the official news agency WAFA. Maliki said the announcement brought to a total of 131 countries that recognize a Palestinian state along the 1967 lines. Thailand also recognized Israel in 1954 and has historically maintained friendly relations with the Jewish state. The kingdom is a major Israeli vacation destination and the countries have cooperated in agriculture and other areas. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, in a statement, thanked Thailand for the move and said that procedures would begin to establish diplomatic relations. The Palestinians have sought to boost their international recognition as negotiations with Israel remained stalled over the issue of settlement construction. In 2011, they won recognition from a slew of countries, as well as membership at the UN Cultural Agency, UNESCO. They also presented a bid to join the United Nations as a full member, but Washington threatened to veto and urged negotiations, saying that only a political settlement with Israel would result in a state.
Thai police issued a second arrest warrant connected to a terror threat in Bangkok and sought up cooperation with Interpol to find the threat, Police Chief Priyopan Damapong told reporters today. The suspect, whose name was not disclosed, lived with Atris Hussein, a Swedish-Lebanese man charged with possessing illegal substances after being detained on January 12 in connection with a plan to attack tourist sites frequented by Americans and Israelis. Police are unsure if the second suspect is in Thailand, Priyopan said. Israel and the U.S. on January 13th warned that Bangkok could be a target of terror attacks, causing panics in the capital. Canada and Australia, as well as other countries, followed suit by issuing travel warnings to Thailand.
Another local update here. Tourism operators yesterday threatened to march on the U.S. Embassy to meet with the ambassador if the United States refused to withdraw its terrorism warning for Thailand within 2 days. Those concerned operators will join forces to submit their demand to U.S. Ambassador Christy Kenny to learn more about the impacts of maintaining the warning, said Vacharakanika, spokesman of the Tourism Ministry. They will also present information that they got in cooperation with the Foreign Affairs Ministry, the National Police Office, and other security agencies, which show that Thailand is not a terrorist target. He said after a meeting of the National Tourism Policy Committee. With the raising of a terrorism threat warning by the U.S., those operators are facing business losses as tourists, mainly from China and India, have changed their plans to skip Bangkok. The committee to monitor the situation after the posting of the terrorism warning in Bangkok by the U.S. is also concerned about the impacts on tourists, especially those from China and India who are sensitive to news about terrorism, flooding, and Suvarnabhumi Airport. Those news reports have made tourists reluctant to enter Thailand, Vacharat said. However, cancellation of hotel room and air ticket bookings are not that high now, as the problem is still limited to the 3 areas in Bangkok mentioned in the U.S. warning. tourists have avoided Bangkok to proceed directly to their destinations after taking off from Suvarnabhumi Airport to Chiang Mai and Phuket.
On the Palestine story, we have the Palestinian ambassador to Thailand on the line with us, His Excellency Sadi Salama. Good afternoon, sir.
Hello.
Hello, Your
My
Excellency.
name is Abdelazig Abu Ghosh.
Yes, sir.
Sorry about that. Thailand has showed signs so far recognizing Palestine as a state and also as a membership of the UN. Now, can you give us some comments on this?
Actually, we are highly appreciating and really thankful to the government and the people and His Majesty the King for this recognition, because it contributes to the peace and to the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people. This will really have a positive effect on the peace process in our area and the global peace in general. Our President Mahmoud Abbas had really sent his appreciation and thanks to His Majesty the King and to the Honorable Prime Minister and her government and the people of Thailand for this very important step towards recognition of the Palestinian state.
Mm-hmm.
This is really highly appreciated from the people of Palestine, from the President of Palestine, from the government of Palestine, and we hope that this will have a solid basement for a good relation in the future between the two peoples, the Palestinian people and the Thailand people, and we hope that very soon we will have a good diplomatic relation which can also develop to the good relations between the two peoples.
Yes, Your Excellency. What is the latest voting as of this moment for Palestine to be a member of UN? How many countries are voting for and how many countries are voting against Palestine?
Actually, we have already 132 countries.
132.
Yes, voting for.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And we hope it will increase even within this year to reach 150.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a good sign to have in January, the beginning of this year, the recognition of Thailand.
What about how many countries are still voicing their objections?
You know, we have only a few countries who have put their objections. We hope that this will be reduced to the minimum.
Mm-hmm. And what do you perceive to be the Thai and Palestinian relations from now on, sir?
No, the second step is to have the diplomatic relation and to exchange this diplomatic relation and, of course, to have good relations between our two peoples.
Yes, how is Palestine moving toward peace as of this moment? What are the plans for this year, and how do you hope to get more votes from other countries?
We are trying our best to have the peace process to progress. But as you know, it's not only our wishes.
Yes.
It's others' wishes also. And the Quartet on the 26th of this month will have its decision concerning how these peace process talks will go ahead or will not. And we hope that a fruitful result from the proximity talks which are taking place in Jordan, it will yield a very positive result which gives a sign to proceed and with the negotiation between us and the Israelis. But unfortunately, till now, there is no optimistic sign on these talks. But we hope that something will come out and we really want peace to prevail in our area. So we need that the illegal acts and measures of Israel to be stopped, and the settlements to be frozen, and to abide with the United Nations resolutions. These are our ambitions, so we will have peace, and the two-state solution will be a fact in our area. There will be two states, Israel and Palestine, with good relations. This is our ambitions, and this is our hope. But it's not only in our hands. For this, we hope that this peace process will go ahead. If not, we are obliged to return to the international community and to go to the United Nations agencies to have asked for our inalienable rights, including our full recognition on the United Nations.
Yes, well, thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your share of the insights, information, and your presence today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much.
Well, moving on with our national headline, Tirachai Puwanat Naranuban said the proposal to cut the government stakes in PTT and Thai Airways could hurt the government's image in the global financial markets. According to a news report, Tirachai, who lost his job in this week's cabinet reshuffle, said investors could view the effort to lower the government shareholdings in the two firms as a veiled attempt to manipulate the country's public debt figures. On Tuesday, Wirapong Ramangkun, chairman of the Strategic Committee for Reconstruction and Future Development, said the government may sell a 2% stake in PTT in an effort to shift the company's debt from the public debt record. PTT, now 51% held by the government, reported liabilities of 756 billion baht at the end of September. National carrier Thai is also 51% held by the Finance Ministry, with debt of 208 billion baht at the end of September. Liabilities for the two state enterprises are counted in the public debt figures, which stood at 4.28 trillion baht at the end of September. Greece is one example of a country that tried to camouflage its public debt. Once the market loses confidence, it takes time for it to return, Mr. Tirachai said. Tirachai is a former central banker and securities regulator.
Now that the commercial banks are carrying a heavy burden of the results of the the executive decrees that has transferred a huge debt to the central bank. Now the Thai Bankers Association, or TBA, has issued a strongly worded statement opposing the Yingluck government's plan to boost the deposit protection fees from the current 0.4% rate. Nantawat Chuaysong, Secretary General of the TBA, said the recently approved emergency decree to transfer the 1.14 trillion baht public debt to the Bank of Thailand would result in the collection of a higher fee on commercial banks' deposits. At present, all private commercial banks are subject to a yearly 0.4% fee on all deposits, according to the Deposit Protection Act. However, the recently approved emergency decree will allow the central bank to further increase the fee to a maximum of 1% in order to help pay interest on the legacy debt of 1.14 trillion baht. TBA said it is unfair for the government to pass the burden of servicing the huge public debt to commercial banks solely, and this may result in long-term negative impacts on the Thai banking industry. In addition, state-owned commercial banks are currently exempt from the Deposit Protection Act, so there is no level playing field for all banks. When compared to regulations in other ASEAN countries, TBA said Thailand currently levies the highest fee on bank deposits. Thus, Thai banks will be put disadvantage when the ASEAN Economic Community becomes effective in 2015.